No Fap November. What's that about? Well, fap is the supposed sound of a palm encircling a dick hitting your groin as you slap your way to pleasure. Hi, this is Mike Balaban. Welcome to another episode of BAMMER Talks. Today I'm going to focus on the age-old practice of masturbation. You know, beating off, pulling your pud, jerking the chicken. I'm sure there are lots of other slang names for it, and I'm sure it's a practice going back thousands of years. What's your view about masturbation? Are you morally opposed or religiously opposed? Are you reluctantly tolerant? Are you an avid proponent of this age-old practice? You know, it used to be when I was growing up as a child, and I'm sure many of you who are watching this, the attitude in general towards masturbation was negative. The belief was that it was unproductive, might even be harmful to our mental or emotional or psychological health. Religions were opposed to it. It was wasting someone's quote unquote seed or sperm. It was thought to waste energy. You, in fact, should be storing up the production of your sperm, which the longer you go without orgasming, the more you're likely to produce. And if you wanted to get someone pregnant, that would do it. And lots of public attitudes were displayed opposing it, and textbooks and encyclopedias, etc., school, health, sex education texts, all of that back in the 50s and 60s. But gradually over time, the realization has dawned and widespread, mostly acceptance of it as a harmless practice. And I would venture to say that most adult men, probably most adolescent boys, when they discover the practice of masturbation, you know, kind of gravitate towards it avidly and practice it as much as possible whenever they can. It's like a brand new toy. I first found out about it when I was 12, and I heard all about it on the playground, and I tried it in the privacy of my bedroom. Actually, I shared a bedroom with my brother, so there were stolen moments of privacy, and no one had explained to me that it took quite a while before you reached that magical climax that I heard so much about. So I would, you know, slap my erect penis against my groin 5 or 10 times. It felt pleasurable, but nothing happened, so I gave up. It was only on my 12th birthday when I had a sleepover in my home out on the cattle ranch where my family lived, and all of my towny friends loved to come out and play in the hayloft and go down to the pond and fish. And I had a birthday dinner. My parents let me have a dozen friends out as overnight guests. And after dinner, they left to go to town for some reason for a couple hours. And naturally, at 12, one of my classmates said, let's have a circle jerk. I tell this story on another episode, I believe, but I was torn. On the one hand, I was excited. Who wouldn't be? We were all just learning how to use these things, and I wanted to see what the other boys looked like. I wasn't yet aware that I was gay. I just knew that I had a crush on one of them. And yet, I had a raised, darker mole in my groin, just above what my parents had taught me to say was my penis. And I was embarrassed about it. And to me, it embodied everything about me that was different from my peers, coming from the North, in the South, well off among poor to moderate, educated and academic among jocks, liberal among conservatives. So I was petrified and froze and came up with a brilliant suggestion that I'll stand at the door and make sure my parents don't come back and discover us. After, of course, organizing the chairs in a circle so the circle jerk could proceed. And I then watched as they all did it and learned how one does it. And the next time I was alone, I tried it. And lo and behold, I could do it too. Wow, a brand new toy. So that's my experience with learning. I think that's a natural evolution. I think, you know, some people say I ought to put a trigger warning on something like this, like it's somehow teaching kids something dangerous or unhealthy. I'm sorry. I think masturbation is normal, and I think young boys and girls exploring their sexuality safely by themselves or with others of the same sex in a non-sexual, risky, situation is perfectly normal and typical. So we had that circle jerk. I learned and I moved on. Well, today it's generally thought that masturbation is fine. Most people, as I was going to say, who are not in relationships, and many who are, still practice it. If you're in a relationship, you hopefully are enjoying pleasurable sex with your partner, but there are moments and times when they're away, or you're just really frustrated and horny and they're not around or in the mood, and masturbation is a perfectly acceptable alternative. There are movements afoot. You may have heard of them. No Fap November. What's that about? Well, fap is the supposed sound of a palm encircling a dick hitting your groin as you slap your way to pleasure. And that No Fap November is about those people who are taking the month off for masturbation. And then there's No Nut November. In case it's not clear, when you nut, it's when you orgasm and produce sperm and it spews out. So no nutting means I'm not engaging in masturbation. So to me, it's a healthy alternative way to release steam when you store up stress and sometimes you're just horny and there's nobody around. It's a way to relieve that stress and but frankly, for me, it's the easiest way to go to sleep at night. If I'm tossing and turning and my mind doesn't stop, running over something going on in my life, a quick jerk off, and for some reason, it's like taking a sleeping pill. I can fall asleep right away. So let me know what your thoughts are. I find it hard to believe people still consider that an unhealthy activity, as long as it doesn't interfere with healthy relationships with another person. And as long as you're not using to excess, like those who get addicted to porn and just do nothing but jerk off all the time. Thank you for listening to another episode of BAMMER Talks. This is Mike Balaban. And if you haven't already, please sign up and subscribe to this page. And also listen to my podcast interviews, BAMMER and me, when you get a chance. Thank you all. Bye-bye.